Okay.
Alright, this is 5/13/07, Mother's Day as you know it. I'm doing a interview on my grandfather, Rudolph Muller. This is on Vietnam. In your opinion, uh, what did you do during Vietnam?
Well, I'm a U.S. Navy Seabee equipment operator, and I worked with Navy Supply in stockpiling materials for our duties there in Vietnam. I was at Da Nang, north of the city, right on the beach. What was called Red Beach is where I believe the first U.S. troops landed in Vietnam.
Do you have a rank at all?
I'm a third-class petty officer.
What do you think was the turning point during that war?
The turning point was, I believe, that the administration tried to micromanage the war, not allowing the military to do what was required. And you know, the biggest turning point was, I guess you'd say, the Congress defunding what we were doing. They would not support our work over there financially, and we lost support. So that was a turning point. Congress not supporting us.
What do you remember most from your experiences?
Oh, it was hot, rainy, humid all the time. We'd stockpile materials to build bases for the Vietnamese army along the what would be the eastern borders of Vietnam, and it was just 6.5 days of work. Time was just time didn't really mean anything. I'd get up in the morning and I'd see those hills around me, and it's like I'd never been anywhere else. It was constant work, and then when we'd get a ship or something to take materials to the detachments, we'd work around the clock until we moved everything, and then start stockpiling more equipment, materials.
Okay. I understand you're in the Navy, as you told me before.
Navy Seabees, yes.
Basically, what was your full-time job in the Navy?
It was equipment operator. I drove tactical 5-ton tractor with a 50-ton lowboy, and used different stacking equipment from say a 4,000-pound warehouse stacker to an 18,000-pound capacity pettibone. Basically a forklift, because we're moving construction material, plywood, 2x4s, pipe, even runway matting and telephone poles.
Did they recruit you to move to the Navy, or?
No, I could have stayed out of the military because of a physical, what they call the handicap. They called me a cripple because I could not make a fist with my left hand. That upset me, being labeled that way, and I went, and when I turned 21, I signed the papers to have the surgery done on my hand. And just the fact that I had the surgery was enough to get me into Seabees. My first choice was really, would have been the Marine Corps. But the Navy Seabees took me, and then I went to boot camp in 1968.
How did you, I may have got this wrong, but how did you feel about the president? The president was doing,
Well, there again, I think from the president down through Congress, everyone tried to micromanage the war and did not allow the military to do their job. That they could not do anything without the approval of Washington. And that is no way to run a war.
were you in any sort of combat, scared in any time, or any danger things?
The most scared I was coming back in the very early morning hours. We had worked like 3 days straight getting a barge loaded. The Army had loaded it, and when they said it was done, we didn't even have half the material on there. So we unloaded it and then reloaded it as we planned, and got this all done before the tugs came in to pull it out. I was operating an 18,000-pound pettibone, which is like a big forklift, really big. The tires are 5 to 6 foot tall. There's actually a ladder you have to climb to get up to the operations deck. It has headlights, but they don't work really beyond the forks. I was coming back from an area we call Bridge Ramp in Da Nang, and I told the chief, I said, don't run off, because I can't go very fast with this machine. Engine in the rear, fuel tank right over my feet. I said, don't run off and leave me. Well, that lasted for about 2 miles, and they took off. I couldn't run it fast because it would overheat. So I'm just tooling down Highway 1, going back to my camp, and I don't know if it's something I actually saw or felt, but I knew someone was on the road ahead of me in this one bill before the camp. And that was the first time that I've drawn my weapon and chambered around. All I carried was a .45 because the battalion was so large they didn't have enough M16s to go around. So I turned my M16 in for a .45. I didn't want to give off that I knew they were there, because by the time I got up so far, I could see them in my peripheral vision, and it was the classic Viet Cong uniform with the black pajamas, and they were on both sides of the road. I did my best to keep my foot steady so that the engine wouldn't change the tone. but I had that 45. I chambered around, and I thought I was in for it. But I thought, if they start shooting at me, I'm going to empty the clip and try and take some of them out too. By the grace of God, I got all the way through, got to my camp, went through, and then went and down to the command post and reported what I'd seen. And then the next morning I kind of jumped on the senior chief for leaving me. But no, that was the most scared that I was over there, because I thought my time was up.
Do you think were they after you, or were they just?
They were just moving around in the Ville. You know, this is about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, the big joke was, well, at night, the Vietnamese that worked on our base during the day would be out all night humping rockets, moving rockets around, you know, and that could have been what they were doing. I did my best to stay focused on the road, and like I say, I had my 45 ready, and I felt that I didn't need to look, you know, just look over directly at them, that I just needed to pretend they weren't there and keep going to try and stay out of harm's way, but I was ready to fight.
How did you feel about, like she said, the Separatism or anything like that?
Well, our people up, one of the tasks we had in Da Nang was repaving the highways and repairing them. And we had people up in the Hai Van Pass, and they would shoot at the ARVN, or Vietnamese soldiers, and our Army and Marine from, you know, cover. The CVs, they figured we were there rebuilding the country for them, so they just kind of shoot at them to miss, just saying, hey, remember we're here. I went up the Hai Van, up and down the Hai Van Pass one time when I had to haul some stuff to Hue up north, and that was a camp that was taking rounds quite a bit, rockets, mortars, several a night, and went up with the senior chief and a convoy. And when the senior chief found out that the club would only allow 2 beers per person a night, he says, I'm not staying here. We beat feet for tonight. The country itself is very beautiful. I enjoyed the trip 2 ways, just seeing the countryside, getting out of the city of Da Nang. But, you know, you'd see evidence all along the road of enemy activity with destroyed military vehicles and civilian vehicles and blown up bridges and so forth. So it was you were never totally at ease over there.
Was there any point that you ever thought of giving up or quitting on anything? Or?
No, I'm not a quitter. One thing that really upset me over there was losing a friend of mine. We had both been at Bainbridge, Maryland together, working in public works. And we got orders to mount 5 at the same time. And he was an equipment operator like myself. And he was on a roller. They had just finished the paving in on High Bond. And he's on a pneumatic roller, which is basically a big water tank with all the little wheels, front and back, engine sitting up top with the controls. The piece of equipment had been in the shop for repair for brakes and steering. The shop put it back out saying, to us that it was ready. Went and he's rolling the last curve, and this is what I was told happened. That piece of equipment is dual control, 2 steering wheels. The steering wheel he was using he was on the right side of the equipment, which is he was rolling the right there at the edge so you could see. The steering column came off in his hands. He went to hit the brakes. No brakes. He jumped out of his seat, threw his shotgun rider over the railing, because the equipment had railing around it. Grabbed the other steering wheel and tried to ride it down the hill. But he never made it. We couldn't get parts over there that we needed. And it has to fall back on Washington for not sending what we needed. So they killed a man needlessly. And we were pretty good friends. I knew his wife, and I believe they were expecting.
This is kind of, I don't know, this may be changing the subject just a little bit, but how do you think that do you think the war in the Pacific could have been averted?
Well, it wasn't so much a war in the Pacific as a war in Vietnam itself. The North wanting to impose their will on the people of the South. And the people of the South could not defend themselves. The people in the North, the communists, were trying to take over the government, take over the people. And if you look at history, those that fought against the Cong, the North Vietnamese communists, when they did in fact take over South Vietnam, most of them were killed. Those that had supported us and had fought against them, most of them were killed or put in prisons.
How did you feel the communism coming out? How did you feel about that communism?
Well, I am anti-communist. You look at what communism has done to so many countries in Europe, and now, look at Korea.
Russia as well.
Well, communism has failed in Russia because they have gone to a free market society over there instead of communist rule. You know, look at the difference you had between the two Germanys, where they had communists on one side and I can't think of the word at the moment, but free society on the other. And look how well West Germany did and how poorly East Germany did. We had to, you know, communist is not the ideal system that they would like you to believe it is. With what we're facing now in Iraq and Afghanistan, we need to go in and wipe that out, wipe the slate clean. Because we don't, and we have the excellent opportunity of doing it without it coming here and affecting us like it did on 9/11. If we can wipe this scourge out in Iraq and Afghanistan and all those countries over there that promote this terrorism, then we won't have to face it here. One thing about the United States, we have not seen modern war in our country. If we don't eliminate these terrorist sects that are in the Middle East, we will see it here. People will die. And it will do immeasurable damage to our society as we know it.
And also may cause more devastation than it did. You know, maybe not as much, but maybe just enough more devastation that's a little more dramatic than 9/11 was. I mean, that was.
Well, if you look at these terrorists, they don't want to capture us. They don't want to control us. They want to kill us. That's all they want to do. If you look at their mindset, it's kill the Yankee imperialist. Yet, you look at the people of Iraq, they are embracing our way of life, our type of government. They're trying to implement that there. The only real problem is that the Shiites and the Sunnis don't trust each other. They are brothers in the same religion, but they don't trust each other. And until they do that, they're not going to have the peace that they both want. They both want the same thing. They just don't want the other side to have it. I'm getting on the soapbox here.
Well, the MacArthur thing that he was doing, have you
Well, MacArthur, when he got fired, this was during Korea, and he could see that just on the battlefield that our troops were not only fighting the North Koreans, but were also fighting Chinese regulars. Our pilots were flying against Chinese pilots in the, our Sabres against their MiGs. And he said, you know, it's coming from over there, let's go over there and take care of, you know, you don't kill a root by cutting it off at the surface. You kill a weed by digging up the roots. And MacArthur wanted to go after the roots. Going even further back, Patton saw the problems that we would have with the communists, and he wanted to take care of them over there in Germany.
Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Now you get off the soapbox.